with your host, Lee Sanders.
And how's it going, everybody? This is the one and only the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders, and you're listening to a very special weekend edition of the RCWR show on July 28th, 2012. Do hope everybody is having a great time. We've got some good weather that's happening right now. Hopefully your weekend is jump-starting on a good note, folks. Good afternoon, good morning to you, especially for those of you on the morning side as you're just getting ready to jumpstart your day if you're outside of the East Coast. Definitely want to thank you all so much for checking out today's episode right now on Blog Talk Radio and at our sister website over at InfinityOneProductions.com. We got the chat room up. It's ready to go. Feel free to jump on in there. That's up on Blog Talk Radio. And remember, you can also send us your questions, comments via Twitter as we're up on Infinity One Prod. And we're also on Facebook. Hit us up there as well if you'd like on Facebook at Infinity One Productions. Now, of course, as always, we'll be opening up the phone lines in the later part of the show. So definitely listen now for when we get ready to put that number out there so that you can call and be live on the air and give us your questions, comments about a number of the topics that we're going to be covering on today's show. Definitely got a great show that's planned for you guys today on this special weekend edition as we'll be getting you caught up on the very latest in wrestling-related news, entertainment news, and so much more. So do hope you have that cup of coffee ready as you're jump-starting your day with us, as we've got a lot of stuff that we got to cover. Now, just before we dive into things, I want to just take this time out to thank you, the listeners, for checking out all our episodes this month, as you made the month of July's episodes of the RCWR show and Impact Showdown be our most downloaded and listened to shows for this month, folks. We thank the many of you that have supported the show and continue to support the show, and all we ask is that you continue to support us as we strive to continue giving you all good shows each and every single week. Just continue spreading that good word of our shows, and hey, don't forget, you can always follow our show and stay up to date on upcoming shows. Pretty easy. All you got to do is just go to blogtalkradio.com, type in the search bar, the RCWR show, click host, Infinity One Productions, and from there, just click that follow button, and you'll get alerts for all our upcoming shows when they're air, the whole 9 yards. While you're at it, feel free to Google+, tweet, and like, so all your friends and family know what you check out and get them in on the action too. Now, I'm not going to be flying solo today, as this past Monday I was joined by the lovely co-producer Tammy for the special RCWR post show covering the 1000th episode of Raw. We had tons of great fun, especially after we went off the air, as the conversation between the two of us, it just kept on continuing, and we had decided that today, why not pair up again and talk about a lot of the stuff that didn't make it onto Monday night show, as really we got into some really great stuff that should have been on Mondays, the RCWR show, but we just got so tied up with fan reactions that it just seemed like it made perfect sense to do this special. So I guess you could say this episode is a bit of a companion to the RCWR show that we did this past Monday. So it should be a nice little listen for those of you that had checked out Monday's episode. And let's be honest, you all had sat up, you had watched 3 hours of WWE Raw programming. It just wouldn't have made sense for you guys to sit up and spend 3 hours with us. I mean, come on, especially when you got to get up for work in the morning and go to school and all that good stuff. It just didn't make any sense right there. So consider this a little bit of a companion episode, and we're going to see today if maybe me and lovely co-producer Tammy can recapture that magic that we had when we had went off the air, as we got into some really great stuff. Now, of course, as we had saw this past Monday night on WWE Raw, we saw a lot of WWE legends that had returned, and at the same time, we sat up and we couldn't help but recognize that there were several WWE wrestlers that were missing from the show, and I definitely would like to get in the lovely co-producer Tammy in on this, who's just now setting herself up mic-wise and all that. So let's go ahead and let's slide her in here now. I think we are going to be on point today for our audio. Lovely Tammy, are you there?
Yes, Lee. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. It sounds like you're real nice and crystal clear today.
Wonderful.
All right. I don't think we're going to have any audio problems today. So, yeah, as I was telling our listeners while you were setting yourself up there, I was mentioning how on this past Monday night's WWE Raw, you know, after it had went off the air, how we had got into some really great conversation that really should have made it onto the episode. But it was kind of good that it ended the way that it did, because, you know, it just wouldn't have made sense for them, the listeners, our listeners, to sit up and listen to almost, if we would have had it our way, folks, it would have been a 3-hour show, and that just wouldn't have been fair to you guys, because you just sat through a 3-hour episode of Raw. So, especially if you have to get up for work in the morning and all that. You know, number of the topics that we had got into, Tammy, was the fact that although the 1000th episode of Raw this past Monday was a pretty solid show, we couldn't help but kind of say to ourselves, okay, well, there should have been a little bit more wrestling. But then, you know, when I really started thinking about it, I said, wow, you know what? We actually have quite a few bit of wrestlers that were missing from the show. I don't know if that had really sank in for you after the show went off the air and a couple of days had went past. Were you picking that vibe up?
Yeah, actually I was. To be honest with you, I honestly thought that there should have been way more wrestling to the 1000th episode, or at least more substance, you know, besides someone passing by, or, you know, or just something, what I felt that was silly. Maybe they should have more commentators, or you had so many great wrestlers between the start of it and now that were missing from that episode. You know, whether they can spotlight them in the stands or have them be a commentator or just bring them out. Heck, you should have ended the show with bringing out all the old wrestlers in the ring instead of CM Punk going, you know, ending the show, which I understand why that happened. But at some point in the show, maybe you should have had, you know, a line of 1,000 of the wrestlers that, you know, has done the show. Just a thought.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I don't know if you had checked out the article that I had wrote over on our website at Infinity One Productions, but I believe you did, because I know you had did a little bit of proofreading a few days ago. For those of you that didn't check the article out, I actually sat down, and it was so funny as I was working on this list, and folks, I wasn't even looking for anything bad. about the 1000th episode of Raw. I was just minding my own business just a day after Raw, and I was sitting down at the kitchen table, and I'm making dinner, and I'm waiting for my lovely girlfriend to come home, and I'm just talking to my dog as usual, and literally not, my friend dog. I'm talking to my dog, my little puppy. And I just start sitting down while I have the food cooking on the stove. I just have a pen and paper, and I'm not even thinking of anything. Normally, I just get a pen and paper, and I usually just start doing a little bit of doodling. And the next thing I know, I just start coming up with a list of people who were not on that episode. And I came up with at least 30-plus names of people that should have been incorporated into the show, whether they get an extended invitation to appear or just get the acknowledgement, as WWE Raw wouldn't have gone to where it is now if it wasn't for those people who were involved in creating such great moments in the history of Raw programming. And Tammy, I definitely would love to share with you and the listeners that list of people who definitely should have been acknowledged. And folks, some of these names, you've already heard about, but for those of you that you may have not heard as far as what's been going on with them, we got the very latest on what all's been happening. So, Tammy, let's go ahead and let's crack this list, because I definitely thought that this was a great list. Funny thing, nobody else, as far as I know, actually sat down and came up with a list. Now, we saw people that sat down and said, oh, well, it was missing Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan should have been there, greatest of all time. Randy Orton should have been there. He's from St. Louis, where the 1000th episode aired. He should have been there, but we all know he is serving his 60-day suspension right now for his second wellness policy violation, so he's out the picture. But then we had some people sit up and say, Ric Flair should have been there. We'll definitely tackle Ric Flair in just a little bit, but let's just acknowledge these people. And we're not going to sit up and do a whole hour of this. We'll just do a quick rundown, but I still think it's very interesting. So, Tammy, let's go ahead and jump right into it. The Rated R Superstar, Edge. All right? Now, we got Edge, who, despite being gone from the WWE for almost a year, this guy created some of the most well-defining moments in his career. When he first teamed up with Christian and Gangrel, and they formed the Brood. Then Edge went on to form a successful tag team with Christian. And then when he started having a singles run and he started to become a heel, look where that had eventually got him, where he became a multiple-time WWE champion, multiple-time World Heavyweight champion. Edge, unfortunately, due to all the injuries that he had accumulated over the years, he had no choice but to cut his career short. He had to retire, and it pretty much changed the landscape of the SmackDown roster because they had to do so much reshuffling. And Tammy, I know you remember this vividly when Edge was there, because it seemed like after Edge was gone, it just seemed like Raw had to set up and they had to figure out who could go over there to SmackDown to fill in that void that Edge filled in so perfectly. They were really struggling there for some months, and some would actually say that on the SmackDown side of things, or just WWE overall, it's still kind of missing a few ingredients, and Edge definitely stands out. And I just felt that Edge should have been the way to go as the Raw and SmackDown general manager. I know we had got into it talking about AJ, how, it's going to be really interesting to see if she could continue to be white hot right now. But Edge definitely would have been the way to go. Now, for those of you wondering, as far as we know at this time, Edge, he was not able to sign a new contract with the WWE. Now, last we heard, WWE, they were trying to set Edge up so that maybe he could get some type of a Legends deal, but last we heard, this Legends deal was going to be paying way less. He wasn't going to be getting a Legends contract like Shawn Michaels. He was going to be getting a Legends type of contract that was said to be even less than Mick Foley's contract, and Edge supposedly wasn't even having that, so Edge didn't even re-sign with the company. He didn't sign any type of contract as far as we know. So, keeping all of that in mind and seeing that in no shape or form Edge was incorporated into the show, yeah, we saw a few video images, but we really didn't get an appearance from Edge. We didn't even see a video package from Edge thanking the fans. Nothing. Edge definitely should have been mentioned. He created some really awesome moments on Raw. Tammy, how do you feel about Edge not really getting that proper nod on Raw?
Well, I have to say that I kind of agree with you on that one because he was such a vital part to SmackDown and the WWE. That's kind of weird how you bring that up because that is really kind of a knock to him, unfortunately, and I can understand why he didn't accept the offer or just pretty much parted ways.
Yeah, I mean, the guy created awesome moments. I mean, for you hardcore Edge fans, let's not forget when he had that white-hot rivalry that was just going on month after month with John Cena. John Cena really wouldn't be where he is right now if it wasn't for guys like Edge that was putting on great matches, doing what they could to put him over. Let's not forget that infamous feud that Edge had with Matt Hardy as they were mixing real life with business. As it turned out, Edge was dating Matt Hardy's real-life girlfriend, Lita. They were doing a little bit of adultery, and next thing you know, fight actually broke out between those two guys. WWE, they end up firing Matt Hardy, but WWE Universe, they really went to bat, sending emails, sending letters to WWE corporate saying, look, you guys are stupid. You got to bring Matt Hardy back. We see Matt Hardy come back, and he starts working that program with Edge. I mean, that was a beautiful, I can remember all those weeks before Matt Hardy was officially back on the WWE roster, how he was just running around in the arena randomly, and he was just beating the living hell out of Edge each week. And it was so hilarious because Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, they weren't even acknowledging Matt Hardy. They were just like, oh, it's him again. And it was just so hilarious. And they would try to do their best to not even acknowledge the guy afterwards, after he would get done beating up Edge. I mean, he just created so many freaking moments. Let's not forget when he sat up and he had won that Money in the Bank briefcase off of Mr. Anderson, a.k.a. Mr. Kennedy, who had got a injury, and as a result, he had to go get healed up. Edge would capitalize on that and become the World Heavyweight Champion the same week. I mean, this guy created a lot of great freaking Raw moments. For him to not get a nod, definite WTF right there. Let's continue to move down the list, people, because, I mean, we're just getting this list started. But China, now this may come as a little bit of a to some people, but one of the things that had jumped out at me, and Tammy, I know it jumped out at you, was we see the DX reunion and we see Shawn Michaels and Triple H go, okay, well, seems like we have a few people missing. Didn't there used to be more of us? And it was, don't get me wrong, folks, it was really nice to see Road Dogg, Badass Billy Gunn, X-Pac. It was really nice to see them. But, man, DX was just screaming the ninth wonder of the world, China. And I'm saying to myself, my God, this really is not a DX reunion. You got to have China in there. And for those of us that are hardcore DX fans, when we think of DX, we do think of China in there. I mean, let's not forget all the dirty work that China used to do for DX. I mean, this girl did not mind getting her hands dirty. She would do whatever to make sure that her boys had won, especially if she was coming out during a Triple H match or a Shawn Michaels match. She had their freaking backs, no doubt about it. Let's not also forget how China had a significant part in creating Raw moments when she had ended up becoming one of the first and only female co-intercontinental champion title holders, as she held the title along with Chris Jericho, and they had their infamous matches. And then when China had focused her attention on becoming the women's champion, who could forget about China teaming up with the late Eddie Guerrero, and she was dubbed as Mamacita. I mean, really great freaking moments right there. China not giving that proper nod. Now, some people will sit up and say, China, well, you know, she's been dipping into a lot of bad stuff as of late. She's making the tabloids in a negative way because it seems like she's ODing all over the place. She's doing porn, all that other crap. Yeah, we get all that, but you know what? That episode is supposed to be a night about Raw moments, and you want to really jump out there and really let it be about acknowledging the people who helped pave the way during the years. China, to not even get a proper nod, I mean, that's definitely a WTF. Tammy, I don't know how you feel about China. I know that's probably a controversial pick. How do you feel about that one?
Unfortunately, to a point, you know, I agree with you on they should definitely have that be a night about past wrestlers and current wrestlers. But do you want to portray the image of what she's actually doing, especially because it's so recent? Mm-hmm. And they're kind of like, okay, well, I mean, it's nice to see her, but, you know, oh, yeah, okay, they're having her on. And some people may be like, oh, that's bad taste. Mm. But I don't know. I'm a little on the fence about that one. I'm actually a little on the fence.
That's okay if you're on the fence about that one, and those of you that are listening, you may be a little bit on the fence about that one too. Well, we're still talking DX here. That brings us to our second pick, which is former DX member Tori. That's right, real name Terry Potch. Now, she may have not been involved in wrestling that long. She may have not been involved in the WWE, WWF that long, but she did kind of make a little bit of a significant impact from what I could remember, as she was involved in the company and she was actually part of DX. Now, for those of you that need a little bit of, her name sounds kind of familiar, I can't really remember the angles. Remember, she was going around and she was Kane's girlfriend, and they had this feud going on where Kane was taking on X-Pac, and at one point X-Pac had put in a stipulation for a match that if Kane lost, then Tori had to be X-Pac's girlfriend for the weekend. You hardcore WWF fans, y'all definitely will remember that angle. And then after the weekend was over, Tori would assure Kane that nothing had happened between her and X-Pac, but it would later be revealed that Tori was X-Pac's new girlfriend, and thus she was officially a member of DX. Not quite the same impact as China, but You want to talk about that, well, that clean record. You want to talk about that record when you compare it to China. Tori never dipped into any porn or any controversial stuff. You never heard about her sitting up and getting into some crazy shenanigans. Pretty much after WWE, she sat up and focused on being a yoga instructor, a yoga teacher, as is something that she takes very seriously to heart. So, in a sense, you still could have had an official DX reunion if you didn't want to go the China route. You could have went the Tory route. Let's move on now. We got Big Daddy Cool, Big Sexy, Kevin Nash. Now, Kevin Nash, he would point out weeks ago on Twitter that he couldn't be on the show because he was on vacation with his family for that week. There was just no way he was going to be able to do Raw. Well, that's fine and dandy. We kind of understand that, but you had at least over a month plus of time being prepared for this week. It could have kind of switched a couple of dates around just to make a quick little cameo appearance. Definitely Big Daddy Cool Diesel, Kevin Nash, he definitely should have been there. He created some pretty great Raw moments right there. Let's not forget. Let's really break it down here, folks. If it wasn't for the WWE, Kevin Nash, he wouldn't have been so successful in WCW. He wouldn't have been able to go over to TNA for those few years that he was over there. None of that would have been possible if he didn't have the platform given to him by the WWE. Now, this also, in a sense, Tammy, it could have been the return of the Clique. While you're talking about having a DX reunion, you could have also sat up and had a little bit of a Clique reunion. Of course, you folks, you all see where this is going, don't you? Of course, we got to mention the next guy, Scott Hall, the bad guy, Razor Ramon. Great moments in the WWF. Who could forget about this guy sitting up and all those vignettes that he had as Razor Ramon as he was getting ready to pop up in the company? I could definitely remember that. You want to talk about Raw moments? Let's not forget when Scott Hall as Razor Ramon had that match against X-Pac, Sean Waltman, and Razor, he got beat so fast that Sean was dubbed as the 1-2-3 Kid, and that had happened on an episode of Raw back in 1993. I mean, this really skyrocketed the hell out of X-Pac. That all wouldn't have been possible if Scott Hall wasn't involved in that. Now, yeah, Scott Hall, he's been making headlines because of his domestic allegations that's been going on with his girlfriend, and he's in and out of rehab. Seems like he's been trying to do right so far, as currently he's been supporting his son, who recently had his debut match in Bellevue Pro Wrestling. He may not be the same guy that he was years ago physically, but still, he definitely should have been involved in some type of capacity. I've seen some pictures of him. He looks pretty good. You definitely could have had a great moment right there, as it could have been the return of the curtain call, because, you know, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, to have been able to get all four of those guys while also doing the DX reunion at the same time, that would have been the first time since 1996 that you would have had all four guys in the ring since the infamous curtain call, where they basically broke character and they had embraced one another as Kevin Nash, Scott Hall back in 96. They were leaving WWE to go work for WCW. Really great moment right there. If y'all don't know anything about that, definitely go look that up. Curtain Call, WWF Curtain Call, 1996. It was a really great moment right there. Tammy, how do you feel about that Scott Hall pick there?
I think that would probably have been a good pick, considering he had so many angles. And, kind of trying to clean his act up. Honestly, a lot of these wrestlers, you never know. It could be either, oh, wow, it's good to see them again. But then you could also, do like Kevin Nash, if they decided to pick it back up, like they did about a year ago with him and Triple H. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, it could be a revamp for some of them. But as far as the Scott Hall, I think he should have been there.
Yeah, especially all the love and support that he just continues to give from the WWE. I mean, the guy has been in and out of rehab. WWE, they constantly keep picking up the tab for Scott Hall to try to get clean. He is definitely one of their favorites. I mean, Stephanie McMahon, Tammy, you remember, she had went on record a couple of months back and said that they had spent at least over $500,000 on Scott Hall specifically to try to get him cleaned up. So to say that Scott Hall isn't one of their favorites, that would be an understatement. For him to have popped up, it's the least thing you could do. After all, WWE is picking up the tab, trying to make sure that you stay clean and stay alive. Definitely would have been a good nod right there. Great moment for the fans. Let's move up down the list now. Now, we don't want to spend too much time on this next pick because we know the real deal of what had happened. And, Tammy, you and I were talking about this guy. When we saw that he was not on Raw, we sat up and said, something weird must have went down with this guy. Let's wait and see what happens. But what happens with the wrestling community? You had those websites. They tried to make something out of nothing. They tried to sit up and go, oh, is this guy possibly sitting up and having beef with Vince McMahon? Did the two of them have some type of a fallout? What's going on? Of course, we're talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin. This guy, of course, to say he made an impact in WWE in Raw moments is a freaking understatement. We saw the videos hyping up Stone Cold Steve Austin, and everybody was just under the impression, Stone Cold, yeah, he's definitely going to be popping up, no doubt about it. Well, when we saw that Stone Cold didn't pop up, a lot of us were wondering what the heck is going on. Raw 1000 felt incomplete without an appearance from Steve Austin. Now, we would later find out that Stone Cold Steve Austin, he actually had came off of a major surgery with one of his knees, and as a result of that, he was on crutches, and he would do damage control. He really didn't have to, but he didn't like all the rumors that were being put out there by wrestling sites, dirt sheets. He went on record on his website, put out a blog, basically said, look, there's just no way I was going to be coming down that ramp, hobbling and getting in the ring, especially if I'm not at my very best 100% physically. I'm really sorry for you WWE fans that were expecting me to be there. I'm sure I probably let a lot of you people down. I'm sorry, but I just came off of this surgery. It is what it is. And, Tammy, you brought up a good point, which was you said, hey, it's okay if Stone Cold was on crutches. It's understandable if he didn't want to come down to the ring, but shouldn't he have done a video?
Yes, I actually think he should have, just out of, what that show was about. I mean, just a 5-minute video package of him, sitting down, them shooting him from the waist up to show, okay, maybe I'm not at my best, but come on, you can fake it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I just think he should have given the WWE fans a little bit, for that 1000th episode. Unfortunately, I guess I can see his side too, because he is probably that showman, and if I'm not 100%, then I don't need to be out there. But then again, look at, the match that he had with The Rock, or I think when he basically went to the hospital and then, came back and did that. So this knee surgery thing, my goodness, that's probably small potatoes compared to, what happened prior.
Mhm. Tammy, you know what would have been a great freaking moment right there with Stone Cold Steve Austin? I tell you how they could have done this perfectly, and they could have kept it under the wraps about him having the knee surgery. They could have kept this really quiet for a couple of weeks until Austin didn't even have to put out a blog saying he was on crutches and all that. What would have been perfect would have been had they shown a video clip of Stone Cold on his ranch, and somebody's throwing frisbee disc into the air, and Stone Cold has a rifle, and he's just shooting at them, and Stone Cold could have, he could have had his little hunting jacket on and his shades on and all that, and Stone Cold could have sat up, he could have looked dead at the camera, and he could have been like, "Hey, Stone Cold Steve Austin here. I want to just take this time to thank you, WWE fans, for supporting Stone Cold Steve Austin all these years. Stone Cold appreciates the love. As you can see, I'm here kicking back, having a little bit of fun. Sorry I can't be there right now. Just recuperating from a little bit of surgery. Just got done doing my new hunting show, Redneck Island. Wouldn't it be possible if it wasn't for you, the WWE fans? Really thank y'all for supporting Stone Cold Steve Austin all these years." He could have said some stuff like that, and he could have ended it with, "I'll be seeing you guys real soon, I promise. Congratulations to Vince McMahon and the McMahon family for 1,000 episodes of WWE. Let's do another 1,000. That really would have been a freaking awesome moment right there.
Yeah, that would have definitely been a great moment for, like I said, that video package to give the WWE fans something. I mean, he was such a vital part of that 1,000 episode, and still to this day for the fans, he's probably at the top of a lot of people's top 10s as far as wrestlers.
Yes, and speaking of top 10, the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. I mean, WTF, Kurt Angle, this guy created some great moments in his career in the WWE. He had plenty of Raw moments. One of the backstage skits that pops out in my mind, why I don't know, but I guess because it was one of my personal favorites, was when he was sitting up with Stone Cold Steve Austin trying to win the affection of Vince McMahon. That was a really hilarious moment right there. Kurt Angle, even though he might be in TNA, he still should have been given the nod, and you just know Kurt Angle is probably a little bit pissed off that he was not even acknowledged on Raw. That brings us to our next group. That's right, group, as Jeff and Matt Hardy. No acknowledgement whatsoever. Jeff and Matt Hardy, the Hardy Boys, they were so freaking instrumental in the tag division early in their careers. They brought us extreme. Let's be honest. They brought us extreme when it came to ladder matches, table matches, chair matches. They always gave the fans something to look forward to each and every single week, because if you turn on an episode of Raw, hell, you turn on an episode of SmackDown, you were looking for a tag match, and you heard that Jeff and Matt Hardy were going to be doing their thing, you knew you were going to be getting a 4-star quality type of match. And, of course, eventually we would see the two of these guys. They would have their own respected singles run. Matt Hardy doing the whole version 1. That was really a nice little deal that was going on right there. But it would be Jeff Hardy who would have a really great singles run in the company, as eventually he would become the WWE champion. You want to talk about great Raw moments. For Jeff, one Raw moment that jumps out in my head is when he had took on Triple H for the WWE title. That was a really great freaking match. And then you had a hardcore match where Jeff Hardy was taking on Undertaker for the Hardcore Championship title. Really great moments right there. Both of these guys, they created some really awesome moments. No acknowledgement of these guys whatsoever. Really disappointing. Of course, we can't talk about tag divisions in the WWE without mentioning the next duo, the Dudley Boys. Devon, Bubba Ray Dudley. These guys, they're practically hand in hand with the Hardy Boys. They, too, had helped reshape the tag division and gave us great Raw moments. If we got to go with a number one Raw moment, come on now. Bully Ray power bombing a 70-plus-year-old Mae Young through a wooden table. If that wasn't a freaking Raw moment, I don't know what the heck is. These guys definitely should have been given a proper nod. I'm not saying they should have sat up and showed these guys in like a 5-10 minute video clip, but you could have taken at least 90 seconds to plug these guys. Tammy, I don't know how you feel about the Dudley Boys and the Hardy Boys, even though they have been a little bit affiliated with TNA, but I definitely think these guys should have gotten a nod.
Well, honestly, what should have happened is if you couldn't have them there live, whether it's contract obligations or what have you, you should have at least shown some kind of a clip to, whether it's 90 seconds in throughout the night, they should have integrated, past Raw moments, whether, you picked the top 20 and then just kind of did that and ran that through all night long. I mean, honestly, I completely agree that it should have been a celebration, not just in the right now wrestlers, but it really should have been about the wrestlers of past as well. Yeah. So, I really kind of think that they kind of just a bit dropped the ball. And Lee, I love you, but I got to go because I got a flight to catch.
Oh, yeah, we almost forgot you had that flight to catch. Yeah, you're doing a little bit of business work for us. We appreciate that. I got so lost on the track of time. Well, you know what? You go ahead and do this. I can actually wrap this up real quickly. Lovely Tammy, folks, always willing to help us out. Hope you have a safe flight, and we'll definitely see you back for the Tuesday night show, right?
We'll talk about that after the show.
Okay. Well, assuming that you'll be back in time. Actually, no, you won't be back until later this week, actually. My bad, I forgot.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right,
well,
yeah. We'll see. Maybe I'll pop up on the Thursday show.
Well, I would hope so. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to be able to do the show on Tuesday. I'll be running around multitasking, and only you know how to do it better. Lovely Tammy, folks. Well, you have a safe flight. Definitely let me know when you get there safely, all right?
Will do. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you. As always, we appreciate it. All right, lovely Tammy, folks. Okay, so let's quickly finish running down this list because it's actually a pretty good freaking list. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I think you guys see where I'm going with this, okay? So let's quickly just run down this list here. Our next guy we have here, he definitely should have been acknowledged in some type of way, Shane McMahon. Shane O'Mac. A lot of great Raw moments right here. The son of Vince McMahon. Yeah, he shockingly had left the company a few years back, but he's really proven to be his own man as he's become a pretty successful CEO in a cable broadband service provider out in China. I mean, he's been doing a phenomenal job over there, but Shane O'Mac, he created some pretty great Raw moments right there. That's another one that didn't get acknowledged. Let's continue to go down the list here. Linda McMahon. Now, some of y'all might not agree with this because as far as a lot of hardcore WWF, WWE fans are concerned, this woman, in a sense, killed the WWE is what a lot of people will say as she sat up and took WWE into the PG era. And you can say what you want to say, but this definitely should have been a moment where Linda McMahon should have popped up, whether in person, in video, and acknowledged the WWE universe. I think that it definitely should have happened. Isn't it funny, folks? It seems like Linda McMahon doesn't want to have anything to do with the WWE, right? But let her try to get on that Senate run and she needs votes and the whole 9 yards, then all of a sudden she'll pop up in the WWE, do little video promos asking the WWE Universe to go out there and vote, while really what she's trying to do is put the spotlight on her because she needs help winning whatever seat, and she's lost the past few years now. So it's kind of messed up when you think about it. She's trying to stay clear of the WWE because she doesn't like the previous association that she had with the organization, but when it comes time for her needing votes, the company is good enough to get some type of acknowledgement because she's trying to meet a personal need. Either way, she definitely should have made some type of an appearance here. Tori Wilson, my personal favorite, I'm sure another personal favorite for a lot of you hardcore WWE fans. She had so many great Raw moments. Come on, man. Every single time you turn on the TV, we saw Tori Wilson always involved in some type of a bikini, panties match, pillow match. Of all the blondes that has popped up in the WWE, there has never been one so beautifully shaped, so freaking smoking hot than Tori Wilson. With the company for 8 years, she pretty much had some decent story angles. I know one that jumps out there is when she had hooked up with Tajiri. That was some pretty hilarious stuff right there when she was part of Vince McMahon's Devil Stable. Last we saw her when she was paired up with Carlito. She always had some pretty decent moments. 8 years, never held the women's title, never held the Divas title. Tori Wilson, man, really great freaking moment right here. And look at where she is now, folks. She's currently dating New York Yankees Alex Rodriguez. WWE, they kind of had a moment right there where they could have briefly mentioned her while also kind of plugging what's going on with her currently. A little bit of a missed opportunity right there. And let's not forget how close she was with our next diva, as the two of them, they had sat up and they were actually roommates at one point. The lovely She's Got Legs, Stacy Keibler. How can you not plug Stacy freaking Keibler? Come on, man. She's fucking dating George Clooney. Mega Hollywood star George Clooney, and you don't plug Stacy Keibler. Man, you want to talk about missed opportunities right here. And to finish out the list, we got a quick rundown for you of other people that I felt should have been acknowledged on the show. Steve Blackman, Nation of Domination, Goldberg, the late Eddie Guerrero, Jake the Snake Roberts, Randy Orton, Tatanka, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Ricky Steamboat, Sonny, Michelle McCool, Jonathan Coachman. I know some of you are probably listening to that and saying, just think about all the times that he was embarrassed by other WWE wrestlers in those interview backstage skits. He really created some great moments to really try to put over those wrestlers. I mean, Stone Cold comes into mind. The Rock comes into mind. Chris Jericho. He had a ton of great moments there where he was, despite looking like an ass, he did his job perfectly. Tommy Dreamer, Lance Storm, Ken Shamrock, Raven, Spike Dudley, Mike Adamle. Now, some of you are probably listening to that and you're saying, Mike Adamle, what the hell? Hey, Jamaican McCrazy. Mike Adamle definitely should have gotten some type of acknowledgement, despite how crappy he might have been. The Bella Twins, Todd Grisham, Dave Batista, Ivory, Miss Jackie, Pat Patterson, Gerald Briscoe. And that's going to finish out our list right there. Of course, we definitely, it's a no-brainer. That's why I didn't even put these guys on the list. Ric Flair definitely, Hulk Hogan definitely should have gotten some type of a acknowledgement. More so Ric Flair as opposed to Hulk Hogan, but it is what it is, folks. Really great list right there. Now, of course, we can't talk about the 1000th episode of Raw without really going in depth about The Rock, who came back, revealed that he's going to be taking on the WWE Champion no matter who it is at next year's Royal Rumble, 6 months away basically. And we're saying to ourselves, okay, so it looks like the way that this is going to be playing out, The Rock is possibly going to become the WWE Champion. Well, not so fast, folks, because it would actually be revealed, as the latest word on the wrestling beat right now is that The Rock may not even be able to appear at WrestleMania 29. Now, let's not forget, right after WrestleMania 28 had concluded, we had like a couple of weeks go by where Triple H, Vince McMahon, The Rock, they all were at a WrestleMania 29 press conference, and The Rock said he guarantees he's going to be taking part in WrestleMania 29 next year. So now it's looking like The Rock might not even be able to pull off being at WrestleMania 29. Why, you may ask? Well, remember, his G.I. Joe 2 sequel had got pushed back to opening next year. It was supposed to open this year, but they decided to put it on hold. They wanted to go back and they wanted to touch up the graphics more, so it looks like they're going to be doing it next year. So it's very possible that we could see The Rock, if he were to get the WWE title at the Royal Rumble, it's very possible we could see The Rock maybe lose the title right before, or maybe they'll just scrap that whole idea altogether, as the way it's looking, they would like for it to be The Rock defending the WWE title against John Cena at WrestleMania. But if you have The Rock having one hell of a conflicted schedule, yeah, it's a no-brainer. Then you're not really going to be able to pull that off. Very curious to see how they make this come together, as the way it's looking right now, Vince McMahon, he hopes that while The Rock is going to be plugging G.I. Joe 2, that maybe he can piggyback ride from The Rock by having him mention WrestleMania 29. So very curious to see how that's going to play out. Anything can happen, folks. We're still 6 months away. A lot can happen in 6 months. Let's not also forget the infamous heel turn that we saw on Raw, where CM Punk, he basically beat the crap out of The Rock. He left the ring having John Cena, The Rock, laid out in the ring. This really brings up a very valid point that really wasn't discussed this past Monday night, which is, okay, we see now that John Cena is slowly getting that, spotlight from the WWE, where they're trying to put him back into that championship picture. They're trying to possibly put the belt back on the C-Nation leader, and I know this had a ton of anti-John Cena fans just furious. They're sitting up saying to themselves, oh, man, it looks like John Cena is going to be given the belt once again. He's going to be given the spotlight. What the hell? Let's just really break this down here, folks. And I know we got a lot of anti-John Cena fans. Let's first approach this from CM Punk's standpoint. Let's all be brutally honest here. CM Punk was starting to become stale. Ever since the whole pipe bomb, ever since he re-signed a new WWE contract, CM Punk, it seems like he's been a little bit domesticated by the WWE. It seems like they have been grooming him, if you will, and as a result of that, we've only gotten half of the CM Punk we remember from last year, to the point where some people would say, despite loving CM Punk, he's become a bit boring. Now, Vince McMahon, WWE, they'll have you believe that what we saw transpire on Raw has been cooked up now for at least the past several months, possibly as far back as a year. Brings up a very valid question. This heel turn for CM Punk, yes, it was needed. It needed to happen because he was starting to become stale. And I think that's one of the main reasons why they threw AJ into the picture there, to really kind to cover up what's going on with CM Punk being so bland right now. But the real question that comes into mind, folks, is even though we have this heel CM Punk now going to be working with John Cena, they're trying to knock out two birds with one stone, they be in WWE. You make CM Punk heel, you make him work with John Cena, you're trying to sit up and have John Cena go over CM Punk, as, let's face it, folks, Vince McMahon, John Cena, that's his boy. They have been trying for months now, figuring out how they can have John Cena get back over with the WWE fans. And like I said on this past Monday night's the RCWR show, it doesn't look like anytime soon they're going to try to make John Cena be a heel. There's no cracks in that armor of him possibly going heel. He is adamant on staying face. And let's be honest, with all the work that he does for Be a Bully campaign, Make-A-Wish Foundation, he would have a tough time explaining to those sick kids why he did what he did as a bad guy. So I just don't really, unfortunately, see Cena becoming a heel anytime soon. The only way I see Cena becoming a heel is if they have somebody that can take his place as a mega superstar face. And unfortunately, we don't have that right now. So here is the situation that we have here. So the real question comes into mind is, could this possibly backfire on the WWE by making CM Punk be a heel? Because for those of us that remember CM Punk during his pipe bomb days as the leader of the Nexus, or the new Nexus, he was doing some pretty awesome stuff. So do you really want to go down this route? Because if you go down this route, it's very possible that the fans, they may rediscover what they had loved about CM Punk in the first place, and they're just going to continue to root him on. Meanwhile, your experiment with John Cena and trying to see if you can get John Cena back in the title picture, that's not going to go anywhere. So it's really an interesting development that you have right here with CM Punk going heel, and he's working with John Cena. Now, I still feel that regardless, we are definitely going to see these two guys lock it up at SummerSlam. That's a no-brainer. But I still see CM Punk retaining his championship despite what's happening right now. I'm just really getting this vibe right now that CM Punk, if he does have the belt taken off of his hands, that it'll happen next year. Will it happen at the hands of The Rock? Unfortunately, I can see that happening. But will it happen is the question. I can see it happen, but will it happen is a different question. I don't like really jumping too far ahead. But I think right now you got CM Punk. He's definitely going to retain. I don't want you anti-John Cena fans to trip, because I know how passionate you guys are, how much you hate John Cena. Just kick back and just wait and see how they're going to play this out. I think we all can agree that it makes no sense for John Cena to get the belt off of CM Punk at SummerSlam. I think we all can agree on that. If you're going to have John Cena get the belt back, it makes more sense to do it next year if you're really trying to put him in a situation where he can lock it up with The Rock for the belt. That just really makes more sense. Don't freak out. Punk's going to retain his belt. I see him finishing up the rest of this year being the WWE champion, but this is definitely a smart move on WWE's part because CM Punk was definitely getting old. Now, of course, we would also see on the 1000th episode of Raw, WWE really exploit their use of Tout, Twitter, Facebook, and it would also carry over briefly into this week's SmackDown. And for those of you that didn't watch SmackDown, don't worry, in a nutshell, we'll give you all the latest results of that this week's installment. Really brings an interesting question to mind. Is WWE really utilizing, well, not utilizing, but are they over-utilizing their use of Tout, Twitter, Facebook, when they're showing it on Raw every single week? And as we saw from this past Monday night's Raw, we are really going to be hearing a lot of video replies from WWE fans via Tout. Are they alienating you, the hardcore wrestling audience that just want to kick back and just get your fix of wrestling? Brings up a very interesting topic, and we're definitely going to go more in depth on that, and we'll also get you caught up on the very latest installment of WWE SmackDown, and also get you caught up on the latest in wrestling-related news, entertainment news. We're really just getting started, but we're going to go on ahead, and we're going to take a commercial break right now, and when we come right back, we'll definitely jump into those topics. So hang tight. We got plenty of show left. We're just scratching the surface. You're listening to a very special The RCWR Show Weekend Report. We'll be coming right back, folks. Hang tight.
Tired of those wrestling websites that give you redirects, spyware, weird pop-ups? How about those misleading headlines? Instead of hitting the keyboard in frustration, why not visit InfinityOneProductions.com? Infinity One is the source for wrestling-related news and so much more without all the hassle. Visit InfinityOneProductions.com. Your keyboard will thank you.
Hey guys, Lee Sanders here with the RCWR Show, and I'd like to take this time out to tell you about one or two quick apps that I think you should check out when you get a free moment. First app I'd like to recommend to you is the app from Stitcher. Now, Stitcher allows you to be able to play all our episodes of the RCWR Show and Impact Showdown on your portable devices, such as an Android phone, Kindle Fire, iPad, you name it, it'll be able to play it. So definitely highly recommend that you check that out. It's available for free in the App Store. Stitcher, new and smart way to play radio. Also, another cool app that I'd like to recommend to you all is a new app that came out not too long ago from Apple. That's right, Apple has recently come out with a free podcast app. Now, this app is really cool, folks, because after we are done doing our shows, all you have to do is just subscribe to our episodes. And you can do this by downloading this new free podcast app. All you have to do, visit the App Store on your iPhone or iPad and just search podcast. Once the app is downloaded, you can then type in the name of our shows, the RCWR Show and Impact Showdown, and you'll be able to subscribe. It's that easy. So you have two cool free apps that you can check out and take all our episodes with you on the go. So get to it already.
are back. You're listening to the Saturday edition of the RCWR show, hooking you up with your weekend report for July 28th, 2012. So, in our last segment, right before we went to a commercial, we were talking about WWE's current use of tout, pretty much all of social media, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. Is it a bit overkill? Now, I'm not sure about you hardcore wrestling fans, but it definitely brings up a very interesting topic, one of which we first announced that we were going to be covering on Monday Night Show earlier this week, and we definitely have been paying attention to what all has been going on online, on social media. Not really a topic that is being covered right now. So as far as we know, we're definitely one of the first to talk about it. I know we definitely were one of the first to mention it earlier this week. So let's go more in depth with this. Now, we have WWE sitting up and they're basically boasting about how much of a great success that they've had with tout. And remember, folks, we had some of those other wrestling websites and some of those other wrestling radio shows, they were bashing WWE and tout, saying that it wasn't going to be successful, that it was going to blow up in their face. Why they would say something silly as that, I'm not really sure. They weren't really thinking about it on the broader spectrum, which is if you give WWE fans the opportunity to do a 15-second video submitted to WWE and for them to possibly get the opportunity to see that video of themselves be shown live on the air, and they're kicking back with their friends and family, and they're like, oh, man, that's me, that's my video, oh, that's me. You know, I mean, that's going to make them sit up in masses, sign up for that tout account, spread the word that they did a video, and hey, who knows, maybe while they're watching Raw, they'll be able to see themselves, or maybe they'll be able to see a friend, and they got the episode on their DVR. So, of course, you know, nowadays we got DVR shows, the ratings, those are now starting to be counted too. We don't really know what's going on with the numbers to be exact, but that is something that goes into rating factors slowly but surely. So tout, they have seen a significant increase from the WWE universe that have made it their business to sign up for that. As I believe in the App Store at one point it was, I think, in the thousands, and because WWE sat up and they got affiliated with it and everything, through their marketing, advertising, we now see that in the App Store, it's now ranked in the hundreds, like I think in the 150-plus range. It's probably lower since. I haven't checked it in a while, but it brings an interesting question for you, the hardcore wrestling fans, when you're sitting up and you're watching Raw every single week. Is this something that you really want to be seeing, as all you want is your wrestling? Now, we all saw what had happened on the 1000th episode of Raw. That was pretty much a celebration episode. It was pretty much just kick back, relax, but you can't help but kind of wonder, based on how they were exploiting it, is this something you can expect of that magnitude or more on a weekly basis? So, you know, I know from a wrestling fan standpoint, as much as I like seeing that interaction envelope get pushed, I just want to see wrestling. And we know that this is something that WWE, they've been kind of playing around with for many years now, if you really think about it, because let's not forget about the first interactive experiment that they had, one of the first interactive experiments that they had, which was the Cyber Tuesday pay-per-view. Now, for you hardcore wrestling fans, you definitely remember that. It was a one-time deal that WWE had did a pay-per-view on a Tuesday. numbers were so freaking bad, they decided they were not going to ever do a pay-per-view on a Tuesday again, and they decided that instead they were going to make it be Cyber Sunday, so they repackaged it, put it on a Sunday. So the interaction with the fans, making it be really interactive, the seeds have been there all along. It's just that over time, over these past recent years, social media has just become really freaking hot right now. The Twitter, the Facebook, the Tout, Pinterest, Google+, that they're really starting to capitalize on that. Now, on the one hand, folks, you can sit up and you can say, well, it's smart on their part because they're getting more exposure. They're reaching out to more fans this way. They are possibly increasing their revenue. It's definitely helping with their ratings because look at how that episode of Raw did from this past Monday night. I mean, they're sitting up saying that this was the highest rated show this past week within the past 10 years. Now, for those of you that have not heard about the latest ratings for WWE Raw, it has scored, get this, a 3.84 cable rating with 6.019 million viewers. Monster numbers right there. Hasn't been done in about 10 years. So it's proven that the Tout, the Facebook, the Twitter is definitely a success. But at the same time, it's like a double-edged sword. Is it possibly going to alienate the wrestling fans, especially those that may be in their mid to late 20s and up, because they just want to kick back and they want to see their wrestling. So what we're going to do right after the show is actually done, we're actually going to put a poll up, and we definitely want to hear from you guys. We're going to make the poll be available on our website at InfinityOneProductions.com. We'll also make sure that the poll is available for you all to check out on our Facebook page over at Infinity One Productions, and we'll tweet it out on Twitter at Infinity One Prod. And we definitely want to hear from you guys if you definitely think that it's a little bit of overkill. But so far, based on some of the listeners that we've spoken with, WWE fans, they're pretty much saying this is a little bit overkill. I know one person I was talking to earlier in the week, they sat up and told me, they said, Lee, it's just so freaking much, man, that I think I might be done with Raw. I think I might just watch SmackDown instead. I might have to watch the other WWE shows because Raw is just a little bit too much overkill for me with the social media right now. And, you know, that seems to be the general conscious right now. But we definitely want to make sure that overall you all are feeling that same way. And for those of you that are not, we definitely want to hear from you all. So, hey, and you can actually even let your voices be heard when we get ready to open up the phone line later on in the show. So we definitely want to hear from you all with regards to that. I really think, though, that WWE, they need to be very careful because if they exploit it too much during that 3 hours of Raw, you know, they're going to alienate the fans. You can mark my words on that. They may get the ratings that they want, but at the same time, you want to be able to keep those fans that are 20-plus years of age. You want to keep them coming back week after week, and I'm not really down with killing 3 hours by hyping up tout videos, whatever the hell you want to call that crap. I'm not really down with over-exploiting that. It should just really be about the wrestling, pushing those story angles. Now you have more time dedicated to hyping up your pay-per-views. Now you have more time to plug the NXT superstars. Let's see you really start plugging that. We just had a new FCW champion crowned. Why not talk about that? Start really getting those shows put out there rather than focus on plugging Sonic, WWE plush toys. You know, that's all cute and dandy, but you could do a Kmart commercial or a Walmart commercial for stuff like that. Let's see you start pushing those other shows, because we have that hardcore WWE audience that likes NXT, that likes FCW, that likes Superstars. So let's really start seeing those get pushed while also making a better effort to plug the pay-per-view. Should be very interesting to see how they do this first 3-hour Raw now that they got the celebration out the way, because now it's back to business as usual. Should be very interesting to see how this develops, folks. For those of you that might have missed SmackDown, we definitely got a quick rundown for you of what all had occurred on this past Friday night SmackDown, as we saw the new Intercontinental Champion, The Miz. That's right, The Miz. He took the Intercontinental title off of Christian on Raw 1000. We saw him take on Christian in a rematch, and we saw Miz defeat Christian. What a great effort by Christian, though. This was probably one of my favorite highlights of the night, seeing these two guys get it on. I mean, they put on one fantastic match. Miz, he busts out a new jacket. He's got new tights on. He's got new boots. He's got facial hair going on. He's got the nice little hair, just letting it grow out. He is really looking like a man's man right now. And I love what's going on with The Miz. He is getting this reignited push. Couldn't happen at a better time. It is much needed. It is like a breath of fresh air right now. Really cool seeing The Miz come back, and he is coming back in full force. He looks good with that WWE Intercontinental title. Was definitely one of the best matches I've seen from Miz so far. For those of you that were not fortunate to see this match, when you get an opportunity after you're done listening to our show or while you're listening to our show, definitely sit up and check out that match. Don't worry about Booker T, Michael Cole's commentating. You know how that usually is on SmackDown, as Booker T always likes to say, "Oh my God." So that's really no commentating, folks. From there, we would also see Jinder Mahal take on Ryback, where Ryback had picked up the win via countout. Now, right here, this was a very, okay, let's find out what's going to happen right here, as this was the first time since Ryback has popped up that we see him win a match via countout. Now, it looks as if maybe he's going to be continuing to possibly have an ongoing program with Jinder Mahal, as Jinder Mahal, he was just really starting to get his ass beat. We would see him leave the ring, and he just decided, hey, I'm not going to even get back in here. Ryback, you got that, but you and me, we ain't over by a long shot. Strong effort by Jinder Mahal. I'm usually not really a fan of his. There's just something about him I don't like. It's not his character. I just kind of think that he really shouldn't be in the company, but I liked what I saw from this past Friday. I definitely am curious to see where this goes. I think I kind of know the reason why I don't like Jinder Mahal. I think he just reminds me of a watered-down version of Muhammad Hassan, and it just speaks volumes to me every time I see this guy, because I'm saying to myself, man, WWE, they so wish they had Muhammad Hassan. They so wish that they had Daivari. It's unfortunate that they couldn't keep those guys, and they're just basically dealing with a third consolation prize is how I feel when I see Jinder Mahal. But I'm very curious to see where this is going to develop. From here, folks, we would see Cody Rhodes take on Sheamus. Am I the only one that was kind of saying to myself, where the hell has Cody Rhodes been within recent weeks? Kind of seems like he's been a little bit MIA, but we would see Cody Rhodes return on SmackDown. He had a fantastic match against Sheamus. We would see Sheamus pick up the win right here, but this wasn't the story here, folks. The real story was we would see Dolph Ziggler make an appearance, and he had that Money in the Bank briefcase as he was thinking about cashing it in. Now, post-match, we would see Dolph Ziggler look at Sheamus, and he was thinking about cashing in that briefcase, but he decided he wasn't, as Chris Jericho would make his appearance, and he would throw Ziggler back in the ring, and we would see Sheamus deliver a bro kick to the face of Ziggler. And from there, we would see Jericho get in the ring, and he's wearing one of Ziggler's shirts, one of his trademark shirts, and we would see him deliver a code breaker to Ziggler. Definitely their storyline, their little angle is just getting started. Chris Jericho received a large pop from the crowd on Friday night. They are kind of picking up that vibe, as well as many other Jerichoholic fans that were possibly seeing shades of the old Jericho that we love and grew up watching come back. Really great moment right here. And from there, folks, we would also see in our fourth match Santino taking on Antonio Cesaro, as Cesaro would pick up the win right here. Fifth match, we saw Yoshitatsu taking on Damien Sandow. Sandow, he would pick up the victory right here. Of course, he's just coming fresh off of a embarrassing beatdown by DX on Monday Night's Raw, and he pretty much made quick work of Yoshitatsu. From here, folks, we had our main attraction match of the evening, which was a fatal four-way match to determine a new number one contender to take on Sheamus at the SummerSlam pay-per-view. It would be Kane taking on Rey Mysterio, taking on Alberto Del Rio, taking on Daniel Bryan. That's going to be our fatal four-way main event of the evening, and we would see Alberto Del Rio pick up the victory. So it looks like, once again, game on for Sheamus and Alberto Del Rio. Could we possibly see Alberto Del Rio get the title this time around, with SummerSlam looming just a little bit over 3 weeks away? Definitely curious to see where this goes. I love how, since Rey Mysterio has been back, though, WWE, they are being a little bit cautious with him, and they are putting him in these tag matches here. They're really trying to make sure that any rust that he has, that he definitely shakes it off. I love how they're slowly just evaluating him right now. It's going to be probably a couple of more weeks of this before we see Rey Mysterio really jump out there in singles competition. I would actually be a bit shocked if they had him do a singles match on this coming Monday Night's Raw. I think they just need to continue to do him the way that they're doing him right now, do it possibly for the next month or leading up into the SummerSlam pay-per-view. That way they can really get a good idea on where his legs are. But so far, Rey Mysterio is looking pretty good since he's returned. Definitely am pleased with Ray, the 619 right there. So Alberto Del Rio back on with Sheamus. I know some people are a little bit tired of this feud right now. They definitely are going to need to spice it up a little bit. Personally, I thought that these two guys, they did it pretty damn good the last time that they hooked it up at last month's pay-per-view, at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I definitely think that this time around, these guys, they're definitely going to be able to top what they did at that pay-per-view. They just need to continue to add more fire to their storyline. So I'm very curious to see, as they're leading up into the SummerSlam pay-per-view, how they're going to continue to freshen this up. I think it's time that they possibly make this be a gimmick match. Maybe we could see a last man standing match for the World Heavyweight title, or maybe we could see them duke it out in a steel cage match. Hasn't been done in quite some time. Would definitely love to see that happen. All right, this is what we're going to do right now. We're going to take another commercial break, and when we come right back, we will get you caught up on the very latest in TNA-related news, as we'll briefly give you the quick rundown of what all had happened on Impact Wrestling, but we'll also highlight key points, as we want to highlight Aces and Eights, James Storm, Chavo Guerrero's debut, and we'll also get you caught up on Velvet Sky, who recently had departed from TNA Wrestling, in case you guys missed it. So stick around. We're going to be coming right back. You're listening to the Saturday weekend edition of the RCWR show. We'll be coming right back, folks. Hang tight. We'll be right back. 60 seconds plus.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR show with your host, Lee Sanders.
And we are back. You are listening to the RCWR show. It's our weekend report edition on July 28th, 2012. I am, as always, the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. Thank you all that are checking out this live episode right now on Blog Talk Radio and over at our sister website at InfinityOneProductions.com. So in case you missed Impact Wrestling this past Thursday night, you definitely missed the latest installments of what had happened. For a more in-depth look on what happened on Impact Wrestling, you definitely want to check out our Thursday night edition of Impact Showdown. It's in the archive section. You can download that and previous episodes of Impact Showdown covering weekly TNA Impact Wrestling, as well as the RCWR show, as we cover weekly what all had transpired on the latest installment of WWE Raw, and also get you caught up on the latest in wrestling and entertainment news. We just want to highlight key points, though, on this past week's TNA Impact Wrestling, where we had saw those damn Aces and Eights continue their path of destruction, as this past Thursday night we saw them once again beat down on Kurt Angle. Just a little bit before that, we had saw them cause a ruckus all throughout the night, and it just had one of those questions looming, as Robert Roode would point out that James Storm is possibly connected to the Aces and Eights, as he sat up and felt that this man, the Cowboy James Storm, has been sitting up for quite some time now, putting in these seeds for the Aces and Eights, as Roode feels that James Storm is the ringleader of this band, who sat up, took out Hulk Hogan, took out Sting, did a beatdown on Kurt Angle, and hates the TNA World Heavyweight Champion Austin Aries, as they had beat him down as well. And a lot of people, they were a little bit skeptical when they had heard Robert Roode say this, but as we would see at the end of the night, which saw our main event Bound for Glory series, where we had points up for grabs, as Bully Ray had took on, I believe it was, it's coming back to me, just give me a second here, folks. That's the beautiful part about live. You never know what's going to happen. And I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I believe it was Bully Ray taking on a Kurt Angle. It was Kurt Angle that he had took on. Kurt Angle had picked up the win as he picked it up by a pinfall. He picked up 7 points, and immediately we would see the Aces and Eights proceed to beat down Kurt Angle, and this would prompt Austin Aries, Sting, AJ Styles. These guys would come out. They wanted a piece of the action as well. But we would also see James Storm pop up. And James Storm, once he got in the ring, we see the Aces and Eights. They leave out quickly, really looking as if maybe, just maybe, James Storm might have something to do with the Aces and Eights, as it was revealed for next week's Impact Wrestling. We're going to be seeing a classic matchup as Kurt Angle will be taking on James Storm. So that should be a pretty interesting match right there. That should be a fantastic match, actually. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to that one. Of course, we saw the debut, TNA debut, that is, of Chavo Guerrero. That should definitely give a little bit of a lift, if you will, to the TNA roster. But, you know, this comes just fresh off the heels of recently departed TNA original knockout Velvet Sky. That's right, folks. For those of you that might have missed it, Velvet Sky had informed all her wrestling fans via Twitter that she had basically been granted her release from TNA. Now, for those of you that might have missed it, we definitely will give you the 411 on what all had transpired, as Velvet Sky would say on Twitter the following, and I quote, she would say, "I have been granted my release by TNA at this time. It's what's best for me right now, and I wanted to thank TNA and all my fans." She would also follow that up with, "And I also want to thank Vince Russo for creating and believing in the team of the beautiful people. We had great fun." And she gave a shout-out to Angelina Love. So this just all went down in the wee hours of the night on, I believe it was Thursday going into Friday. We were one of the first websites to report it, of many websites, but we were one of the first to report this, and I actually did a special YouTube video on our RCWR show channel covering this, where we had basically broke down what all had happened, and we had received quite a bit of feedback from wrestling fans, particularly fans of Velvet Sky, that did not take this news lightly, and it is just really alarming right now, as you can't help but say to yourself, just what exactly is going on with the TNA organization, as it really seems as if maybe they are possibly in some type of a rebuilding structure. We're really not really sure what to make of this, but it's definitely alarming to see this, as if y'all have been keeping track of the people that have recently left the TNA organization while on Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff's watch. Let's just pick it right up to late 2011. So far, we have seen Jesse Neal, Toxin, Arcadia, Roxy, Matt Morgan, Don West, Ric Flair, Angelina Love, Velvet Sky, Shannon Moore, Vince Russo, Will Russo, Scott Steiner, Mick Foley, all leave the TNA organization. Of course, you can't help but notice all these names that are just dropping off and saying to yourself, what the hell is going on here? definitely going to be a interesting topic that we definitely want to cover more on next Thursday's Impact Showdown, but we can't help but let you guys know that Velvet Sky, she had departed from TNA. We have actually reached out to Velvet Sky as we are trying to see if she might be interested in coming on to the show, as we definitely want to get her take on what all had transpired, how she feels about the recent departures of her TNA colleagues, maybe possibly give us insight into what exactly is going on with this organization. Are they in some type of a rebuilding process or what? Because for them to make this move that they made with Velvet Sky, it's a little bit of a bonehead move, if you will. The girl is only 31 years old. We already see that Mick Foley had jumped out there once he found out about her release, saying she would be a great addition to the WWE Divas division. No doubt about that. The only question remains right now, where is she possibly going to go? For those of you that did not take the liberty of checking out that Velvet Sky piece that I had did on YouTube, highly recommend that you go check that out. Definitely want to give that a good view. It has been receiving quite a little bit of buzz right there. It was only 16 minutes long, but it was a great in-depth look, retrospective look into Velvet Sky. So check that out on our YouTube channel over at the RCWR show. Let's switch it up now. Let's go into some entertainment news. We definitely want to let you metal fans know that Judas Priest, who's been around for 4 decades now, writing some really awesome songs and putting on great live shows, they are going to be celebrating the 30th anniversary of Screaming for Vengeance. That's right, their 8th studio album, which contains their hugely successful hit, You've Got Another Thing Coming, which really, in my mind, re-revolutionized metal music back in the 80s. That's going to be really awesome, as they're going to be celebrating the 30-year anniversary of this release, as it's going to be a special edition of the Screaming for Vengeance album. It's going to contain not only the remastered original album, but it's also going to contain bonus tracks. There's also going to be a live DVD in there. That DVD is going to be covering the 1983 U.S. Festival show that took place in San Bernardino, California back in 83. So that's really going to be awesome. You definitely want to check that out. It's going to be available in September. I believe the correct date, just to give you an exact date of when it's going to be coming out, it'll be coming out on September 4th. That's Tuesday, folks, so make sure you check that out. And let's continue to metal music now, as we got some Metallica news for you guys that are Metallica fans. Metallica has confirmed that they have penciled in a plan to go into the studio this September to finally begin work on their follow-up to 2008's Death Magnetic album. That's right. Drummer Lars Ulrich, he revealed in a news conference call with reporters this past Tuesday that there's plenty of material to choose from, and he would go on to say that every time James Hetfield picks up a guitar, there are some brilliant riffs that come out of it, and he tries to do his best to make sure that he records them all, and that it's basically him trying to do his best to keep up with James and put the drums behind him. So they're sitting up right now, and they're waiting around to figure out the terms of turning the ideas that the music that James been playing. They're trying to figure out ways to turn it into some really great music, but they're pretty much saying that once they're done with the 3D movie project with Outside Lands, that they should have it all wrapped up in early September. So they hope that they can get back into the studio around then. I say it's about damn time. Let's see you guys put some really great stuff out there. More music, please. We need it right now because music kind of sucks right now. Billy Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day, get this, he has been tapped as a mentor for NBC's The Voice. That's right. Now, the third season will be premiering September 10th, and the Green Day frontman is going to be the mentor joining Christina Aguilera's team. Now, this goes in so perfectly with Green Day's upcoming release of trilogy albums, Uno, Dos, Tres, with Uno, that's going to be coming out on September 25th. So you definitely want to check that out for you Green Day fans. And we have a little bit of cool news for you Dark Knight Rises fans. In case you all might have missed it, they are currently holding the number one spot right now in ticket sales, as they've been doing a fantastic job. As, get this, they have estimated to have earned somewhere between $160 to $162 million. Now, this was just enough to beat the $158 million debut for the 2008 The Dark Knight, and it set the record as the biggest opening weekend ever for a 2D film. Now, the loser of the week, Ice Age Continental Drift, as that had took in an estimated $21 million. Third place, we see that Spider-Man, they're still holding it down right there. Speaking of The Dark Knight Rises, Christian Bale, he did something really cool. He recently flew down to Aurora, Colorado to meet with the victims of the Dark Knight Rises mass shooting that had took place on premiere night. And really cool, as he went to the hospital and he had visited the patients, and they were pretty upbeat. They were really glad to see him. Really awesome moment right there. Talk about being a hero, if you will, in real life, as he went to go pay homage to the people that went to basically put money in his pocket to go see him. Really classy act right there. Speaking of The Dark Knight Rises, we got to let you guys know that music composer Hans Zimmer, he recently had sat up and he created a new song specifically for the Aurora, Colorado victims, and that song is actually available for download. You can find all the information on his Facebook page, and get this, you could donate as much as 10 cents to download the track. You could download anywhere, you could donate anywhere from 10 cents all the way up to the thousands. So if you have 10 cents, folks, and you have a PayPal account or a credit card, go on ahead and download that track, as 100% all proceeds will be going to the victims of that shooting. So it doesn't get any better than that. What more can you ask for 10 cents just to download a 3, 4, 5 minute track? You can't really beat that, folks. Really nice thing that he's doing right there. So go check that out when you guys get a free moment. And also, in wake of that shooting, Warner Brothers has pledged that they're going to be coughing up a substantial donation to charities in support of the victims of the shooting. It's unspecified right now how much money they're going to be coughing up, and it's unspecified as far as what charity groups that they're going to be coughing up the money to. So really classy thing that they're doing right here. If you remember, earlier this week, I had actually sat up with co-producer Tammy and said it would be a really awesome thing for them to do if they could probably put some money together and maybe give it to the victims. This is the next best thing. I think that this is a pretty cool thing that they're doing right here. Really classy act that's happening. And in case you all haven't heard, it looks like Mariah Carey is going to be the new American Idol judge. As, get this, you want to talk about money, Mariah Carey is going to be receiving $18 million for just 1 year. And she has a 1-year option. I guess that means she could decide whether or not she wants to come back. Now, this basically covers 2 judges in one, as they got Mariah Carey, but they still need to find 2 more judges. So, man, $18 million, that is a lot of freaking money right there, folks. But at least they were able to land her. Charlie Sheen, of course, as we had mentioned, he is interested in becoming a American Idol judge. Not really sure how the negotiations are going as far as that. We'll definitely keep you all posted in any development that takes place on that. Snoop Dogg, this guy's making headlines as, if you haven't heard this song, it was a little bit interesting as Snoop Dogg, he is going the reggae route. That's right, Snoop Dogg is going the reggae route. He has a new LP that's titled Reincarnated, which will see its release later this year. But in the meantime, the first single called La 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 is available now, and you should give that a listen. It's got a really nice throwback beat to it. I'm not really fond of Snoop Dogg's vocals, as he pretty much kind of sounds the same. He sounds like he's trying his best to fake a Jamaican accent or whatever, or just be Snoop. You know, I've never been one to knock Snoop Dogg, but I'm not really sure. I'm picturing reggae singer Shaggy or Ziggy Marley putting their vocals down over the instrumental stuff, because the beats on this joint, it's really awesome. I mean, I was really feeling it until Snoop Dogg started singing it, but check that out when you get a chance. Snoop Dogg, La La La, kind of cool right there. And for those of you that might have missed it, it looks as if Cosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, they are not going to be doing any more recording sessions with legendary producer Rick Rubin. That's right. It seems like they all had clashed with the legendary producer, as pretty much they had a problem with the way he was acting in the studio. Now, Nash would describe Rubin's session as irritable from the start, and he will point out a particular incident where there was a flare-up between Rubin and David Crosby over how many Beatles songs were going to be included on the record. That's right, because they're going to be doing a little bit of a cover album somewhat, and Rubin basically said to them there will only be one Beatles song, and they really didn't like that. They pretty much were sitting up saying, hey, if we decide that, we're going to do however many Beatles songs we want, you can't really tell us what to do. Now, they got some of the songs finished with Rick Rubin. They got a few out the ballpark, but they basically felt that this guy, he isn't one that should be telling them what to do all the time, and they actually were bold as to say, who the F is Rick Rubin? And they know that he sold millions of records, but he in no way can tell Crosby, Stills, Nash what to do. Make suggestions? Yeah. Try it this way? Yeah. But don't tell them what to do. I don't know about you guys, but for those of you that know the name Rick Rubin, y'all are probably sitting up saying to yourself, well, practically every single musician that's hooked up with Rick Rubin, he's basically got them a pretty good freaking album. You know, Crosby, Stills, Nash, they kind of came off a little bit like pompous jerks right here. Here was an opportunity for them to really get back into the spotlight and be relevant again, and now you're alienating yourself by bashing Rick Rubin. Definitely not going to be able to go back to that. That's just really stupid right there. I mean, the guy has worked with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He basically pumps out every single Red Hot Chili Pepper album that gets put out there. He worked with Johnny Cash. He worked with the Beastie Boys. He worked with the Dixie Chicks. He worked with Rage Against the Machine. I mean, this guy has done some phenomenal work. He's worked with U2. He's worked with Anthrax. He's worked with Metallica recently. Obviously these guys didn't do their freaking homework. Pretty sad right here. And, of course, Orleans co-founder Larry Hoppin, he passed away at the age of 61. If that name sounds familiar, that's the singer who was in that group that did the hit single Still the One. Now, his wife would reveal on Facebook of his passing, and unfortunately, we don't know at this time what was the cause of death. More information as it becomes available. Let's go on ahead now and let's dedicate the last few minutes of our show to you, the wrestling fans, or just, casual listeners. Feel free to jump on in right now and share your thoughts, questions, comments. Jump on in. Call us right now, 646-478-3525. Once again, that number is 646-478-3525. Without any further ado, let's go on ahead and let's jump into our phone zone. We go to the 269 area code, Michigan. We know that's Dave. Dave, you're live on the air, my friend.
Hey, man, there's so much stuff. I mean, I love the weekend edition. You should do it more often.
I know, right? A little bit of an experiment. We'll see how it goes. How you been, man?
I'm doing good. I mean, some topics real quick that about, I think that WE, they could use The Rock as the WE champion while he's out promoting the G.I. Joe. Hey, why don't you take that belt with you while you're on these talk shows or whatever? They could do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everyone from TNA side, it's almost everyone who's being left or wanted out of their contract or being released. Feels like they were all instrumental in Vince Russo when he was there. And it's like everyone's not liking the new writers or something. I don't know if that's the case, but it's just kind of funny how ever since Russo got released, all these other people have been wanting out of TNA.
It is interesting because, I mean, you had so many people that were crapping on Vince Russo, Dave, and it's like, okay, you got Vince Russo, he's finally gone, but now on Hogan and Bischoff's watch, we got all these freaking people that are just rolling out, and it's just really starting to become more and more like Hogan, Bischoff, and family. I mean, it looks really alarming. How did you take the news when you had first heard that Velvet Sky had left?
When I first heard about it, I wasn't sure because Twitter people like to make out people die and it's not true and all that, so you never know. But you had to wait a few days to find out. What I seen last night on Twitter, she was talking to Samoa Joe, and they were saying, he's going to miss you, and she said, thanks, I'm going to miss you guys too, and all that. I was just, shocked. I just hope she doesn't go to the WE, because we all know how much time the WE spends on their Divas division. I mean, this whole week from wrestling this week, the WE, Raw and SmackDown, how many Divas matches did we see? I mean, zero.
Yeah, zero.
I mean, besides Lita. But Lita was the only diva. Well, you did see her on TV, but I wanted to ask you something about entertainment real quick.
Yeah.
I sent you guys a tweet last night. I don't know if you've heard about it or checked this song out or not, but Insane Clown Posse has put out a song called Chris Benoit.
Yeah, I actually did, yeah. Because it was actually, Zed was on Twitter. He was doing some website maintenance, and he said to me, he said, yeah, Dave said something about Insane Clown Posse, Chris Benoit song. I said, huh? He said, yeah, apparently Insane Clown Posse, they did a song on Chris Benoit. Yeah, I saw it. I was like, and you know what? The first thing I did, oh my God, I mean, I read the description of the song, and basically Insane Clown Posse, they had actually did an interview about the song, and they said that the song isn't about the tragedy of Chris Benoit. It's more about talking about events, and at the same time, I guess they were really good friends with Chris Benoit, or they really liked him.
We're in WCW too, so.
Yeah.
But in the video, they show images of Chris Benoit in the video.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I mean, I tried to push all that aside because it was like, okay, you're sitting up saying that the song isn't about the Chris Benoit tragedy, yet you're calling the song Chris Benoit. Right, you're showing pictures of Chris Benoit. Although I can appreciate them sitting up and they want to honor their friend, I don't know, man. I don't really think that's the right way to go. I mean, yeah, I mean, it kind of seems like they're a little bit desperate. And I mean, I know a thing or two about the Insane Clown Posse, and I know they haven't really been white hot like they used to be, several years back. Same can be said for bands like Korn, because I know there's that one period there where in the late 90s there, early 2000s, Insane Clown Posse, Korn, they was really hot, but
early 90s, I mean they were huge. ICP, I'm here in Michigan. A lot of people here are big ICP fans. A lot of older music.
Yeah, do you think maybe they were kind of overreaching out there with that Chris Benoit video?
I mean, it was really. I watched the video a few times, and I was trying to say, what do I think? I mean, I was a Chris Benoit fan, so I'm kind of like torn because I'm almost afraid to come out and say you're a Chris Benoit fan at all.
Yeah.
Because the rest was not what happened. But, I mean, another problem with that video I had is the little boy they kept showing in the paint. I mean, it was just like, man.
Yeah.
I kept thinking of his son.
Yeah, I mean, I give them all the props in the world. They got mad balls for doing that music video and really jumping out there and saying, you know what, he was our friend, we will acknowledge him. I mean, I give them props for that. Yeah. At the same time, I just kind of question doing a music video. I would have no problem with them doing that song and it's on their album and you go into the store, you pick up the disc and you're like, oh, Chris Benoit song, or, you see it in iTunes, Zune Marketplace. I don't have a problem with that, but to do a music video, that's where I unfortunately kind of draw the line, unless you're at the point right now as a musician where you sit up and you say, okay, you know what, I don't really care because my pockets are fat, I'm comfortable, we can do whatever we want to do, let's do it. I'm all fine for that. But, it's definitely weird right there. Dave, thank you so much for that call, man. I appreciate it as always. We got to go ahead and we got to wrap it up, unfortunately, as we only have about 90 seconds left. As always, we're going to be doing our regular edition of the Tuesday night edition of the RCWR show at 11 p.m. Eastern on blogtalkradio.com and at our sister website at infinityoneproductions.com. Do make sure you check that out. It's going to be pretty cool. You know what time it is. We got some pay-per-views coming up, so it's almost time to get you guys ready for another installment of Call That Match, as we got the TNA Hardcore Justice pay-per-view that's going to be coming up, I believe, next week. Don't quote me on that. We'll check the dates, confirm, make sure. In the meantime, that's going to do it. I think those of you that called into the show, mad shout out to Dave as always. Mad shout out to those in the chat room. Those for you that's going to be checking out this show on the downloads. Those of you that have listened to the show right now live, really appreciate the love. Let's do it again this Tuesday night at 11 p.m. Eastern, folks. Do hope y'all go out there, have some great fun in the sun. Nice, good weather we have this weekend. That's going to do it. I'm going to get the hell up out of here, and I'm going to go enjoy me some good weekend and have some good fun. Till we hear from y'all next time, please be safe and be kind to one another. Take care, folks. See you next time.